Well, shalom and welcome back. In the background today, you may hear a little bit of an electric guitar, I think, and it sounds quite haunting. It sounds quite nice. If you don't hear anything, fine, but there is a bit of somebody tinkering with their electronic guitar, and it's you can hear it on the wind, and it's quite interesting. And speaking of wind, we have a very interesting segment today looking at the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. That is the abridged or reference version of the Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law, which literally means set table. Shulchan Aruch means set table or arranged table. And we're up to Siman 5, laws pertaining to cleanliness and things of that nature. And we got up to Saif 10. And I want to do 11 and I want to close it out today at Saif 17. I think it finishes on, yes. And yeah, like I said, this is very appropriate in terms of speaking of wind, because Saif 11 says, one who passes gas is prohibited from engaging in sacred matters until the odor dissipates. If his fellow passes gas, he must likewise wait for the odor to dissipate, except when he is engaged in Torah study, in which case he is not required to wait for the odor of the gas passed by his fellow to dissipate. And the footnote for that reads, the prohibition of engaging in sacred matters when there is a foul odor that has no tangible source is rabbinic in nature. The sages did not extend their decree to cases that would cause a disruption of Torah study, according to Mishnah Berurah 79:30. With regard to the recitation of Shema, however, he must distance himself from the odor, according to the Shulchan Aruch 79:9, Mishnah Berurah 79:32. Saif 12, regarding an outhouse, even if it has walls and does not contain any excrement, i.e. the excrement has been cleaned out, see Shulchan Aruch 83:1. One must distance himself from it. So even if it is a pretty clean outhouse, therefore a bench or a seat that was made with a hole in the middle under which a chamber pot is placed so that people can relieve themselves while sitting in it, even if they had removed the chamber pot and covered the hole on the bench with a board, nevertheless this bench retains the status of an outhouse. And before engaging in sacred matters, one must remove it from the house or the room or completely cover it. However, in the case of a chair designated for sitting and covered with a cushion upon which to sit, and only when necessary the cushion is removed and one would relieve himself there, after which the cushion would be replaced. In this case, one can be lenient and not regard it as having the same status as an outhouse. Okay, so interesting subjects we are looking at, to say the least. Saif 13, regarding a chamber pot designated for excrement, and applies equally to bedpans or a urinal. The law is as follows. If they are made of earthenware or wood, they have the halakhic status of an outhouse, even if they are clean and emit no foul odor. Furthermore, even if one put water inside them or turn them over so that they rest on their openings, it does not affect a change in the halakha. Even if one put them under the bed, it does not affect a change in the halakha, because the construction of our beds is such that they do not constitute a halakhic barrier. Rather, one must remove them from the room or cover them. If they are made out of metal or glass, then if they are washed well, they do not emit a foul odor. One need not distance himself from them. The mouth of a swine, since its nature is to burrow into excrement, has halakhic status of a chamber pot. So this is the mouth of a pig. Even if it just emerged from the river, the washing of the river does not help to remove this status. And that's interesting. Saif 14, in the bathhouse as well, it is forbidden to speak or think about any sacred matters. It is further forbidden to say any names designated for the Holy One, blessed is He, even in a mundane tongue i.e. languages other than Hebrew, such as Gott, which is a German word for God, and the footnote says, or God in English, see Igra Moshe Yireh Day 172. Now, you probably noticed that I refrain from reading the word God and in preference for Elohim. My understanding is that the word Gott or God refers to has the same phonetics as a Canaanite deity. So, we're doing what we can here, and I could be wrong. Okay. Or Boga in Polish and Russian. Okay, so that's what the word God in Polish or Russian sounds like. When in the bathhouse or in filthy streets, it is likewise forbidden to greet one's fellow in these places with the word shalom, peace, because shalom is one of the names of the Holy One, blessed is He, as the verse states in Shoftim 6:24, and He called him Hashem Shalom. Regarding a person whose name is Shalom, some authorities prohibit calling him by his name in the above places, and some permit it, since the person saying the name does not mean to refer to the idea of Hashem's name or of Shalom, but only to mention the name of that person. The custom follows this lenient opinion, but it is proper for one who fears heaven to follow the stringent opinion. When calling a person named Shalom, he can either swallow the last consonant and say Shalom, or pronounce it slightly differently, Shalom, according to Mishnah Berurah 84:6. Say 15. It is forbidden to speak words of Torah or holiness facing an erva, whether one's own erva or that of another. Now this is obviously talking about nakedness, even that of a non-Jew, according to Shulchan Aruch 75:4, and even that of a young boy or girl. According to Rama 65:4, it is permitted when facing the erva of a boy younger than 9 and a girl younger than 3. Whether one's own eruv or that of another, and even that of a young boy or girl. However, when necessary for the performance of the mitzvah of circumcision, it is permitted to recite the blessing of circumcision facing the erva of the baby. Even closing one's eyes so as not to see the erva is not effective as long as it is facing him. Rather, he must turn his face and body away so that he is not facing it. Save 16. In addition to actual erva, a man may not recite Torah or prayers in the presence of that which one can bring him to improper thoughts, as delineated in the Seif. The footnote here reads Mishnah Berurah 75:1. However, with regard to this type of erva, there are authorities who do not require that he turn his entire body as long as his eyes are closed and does not see the erva. In a case where one cannot turn his body, he may rely on this opinion. Regarding the body of a woman, any place on her body that is usually covered, if tefak of it is exposed, a tefak is 4 thumb breadths. So if a tefak of it is exposed, and likewise the hair of a married woman, which is usually covered, if some of the hair is exposed, these areas are considered erva with respect to a man who can see them. There is no difference with regard to these laws of erva between one's wife and another woman, 70, or between a married and unmarried woman, except with regard to the hair, which is considered an erva only for a married woman, according to Mishnah Berurah 75:6. According to Rama 75:1, I'm reading from the footnote here, any amount of unusual exposure by a woman who is not the wife of that man is considered erva. However, with regard to this minimal amount, it is sufficient to close one's eyes, according to Mishnah Berurah 75:5. According to some authorities, the exposure of any part of the leg above and including the knee is erva, even if it is less than a tefak, according to Mishnah Berurah 75:7. So it's not referring to private parts, it's referring to parts of the body that are normally covered. So you could say nakedness. These laws of Arava between one's wife and another woman. Okay, yeah, okay. However, these areas are not considered Arava to another woman. 71. It should be noted that the halakha in these sections deal only with that which is considered Arava with regard to the permissibility of reciting sacred texts in its presence. However, even if someone is not an Arava with regard to these halakhot, it is not necessarily a modest mode of dress for a woman, nor may a man allow himself to gaze upon it. See Mishnah Berurah 75:7. The voice of a woman singing. Now this is interesting. I've come across this before because it's forbidden in Orthodox Jewish circles to hear a woman's voice in song. The sages liken listening to a woman's voice in song, a woman singing, is akin to seeing her naked. Let's see what the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch says about it. The voice of a woman singing is also considered Arava. Footnote for that 72. That is, one should not engage in sacred texts at the same time that he hears the voice of a woman singing. It's interesting. Nevertheless, in a pressing situation, e.g. when one hears a woman singing and he cannot stop them, he should not refrain from reciting the Shema or prayer or studying Torah due to the singing. Rather, he should make a strong effort to direct his entire attention to the holy matter in which he is engaged and not pay any attention to her. If one's heart can see his own Arava, i.e. there is no external separation, i.e. a belt between his heart and his Arava, even if the Arava is covered, 73, when a person's own Arava is not covered, he may not recite texts in any case. See Mishnah Berurah 75:19. It is also forbidden for him to recite any sacred texts. Rather, in order for it to be permitted, he must wear pants that are snug on his body, or wear a belt around his waist, or put his arms on the robe across his body. Footnote reads, when he is not wearing a robe, and his Arava is covered, such as when he is under a blanket, he may create a separation by wrapping his arms around his body as if he is hugging himself. See above 2:9. His hands may not be touching his body. See Mishnah Berurah 74:14. So as to separate between his heart and his Arava, a woman does not need to make these separations. And the footnote for that reads, she may recite sacred texts as long as her private parts are covered, provided she is in a sitting position. See Mishnah Berurah 75:15. We have finished Siman 5 of the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, looking at the laws pertaining to cleanliness and other such matters. Thank you so much for joining me. We finally finished this Siman. Next time around, Hashem willing, we will be looking at Siman 6, which is entitled Some General Laws Regarding Blessings and Laws of Recitation of Baruch Hu, Uvarak, Shemor, and Amen, which is going to be really, really interesting.